Welcome everyone, let's cover last 24 hours US updates. Our goal is to provide you news updates shortly and quickly. Let's start. United States ordered a full naval blockade of Venezuelan oil tankers tied to sanctioned entities, authorizing interceptions to cut off revenue to President Nicolas Maduro's government. Latin American governments warned the US blockade could destabilize regional trade and urged diplomatic solutions. Global shipping companies began rerouting vessels away from Venezuelan waters following U.S. naval warnings. Iran condemned new U.S. naval actions near Venezuela, calling them illegal. The European Union and United States reaffirmed long-term security guarantees for Ukraine and pledged continued military and economic support. Ukraine reported intensified Russian drone and missile strikes targeting energy infrastructure overnight, causing power outages. Russia accused NATO of escalating the war by accelerating weapons shipments to Kyiv. NATO officials rejected Russian claims, saying support to Ukraine is defensive and lawful. The United Nations renewed calls for immediate humanitarian access to Gaza as civilian casualties rose and aid routes were blocked. China urged restraint in the Middle East following renewed regional clashes. Sudan's civil conflict intensified with heavy fighting near Khartoum's suburbs and the UN Security Council held emergency consultations. Regional threats were detected. South Korea reported detection of additional North Korean missile launch preparations overnight. North Korea accused the US and South Korea of provoking instability through joint military drills. France increased diplomatic engagement with African states amid rising regional conflicts. Germany pledged additional humanitarian funding for conflict-affected regions. Turkey conducted cross-border security operations targeting militant groups. Israel increased security deployments across major cities ahead of holiday gatherings. The Pentagon declined to release unedited footage of a Caribbean naval strike that killed civilians, citing operational security. U.S. lawmakers demanded classified briefings on the Caribbean strike incident. India and Russia continued Avia Indra 2025 joint Air Force exercises focused on combat readiness and interoperability. India tested upgraded missile defense radar systems during routine drills. China conducted naval patrols in the South China Sea amid regional tensions. Australia expanded joint defense coordination with the United States. The UK increased air patrols over Eastern Europe under NATO command. Poland announced accelerated military procurement programs. Finland strengthened border surveillance following regional security alerts. Spain deployed additional naval units for Mediterranean security operations. South Korea's military reported multiple missile-related activities from North Korea, raising regional tensions. France announced heightened counter-terrorism measures ahead of holiday celebrations. Oil prices surged after the U.S. blockade announcement on Venezuelan exports, with analysts warning prolonged disruptions could push fuel costs higher. Global shipping costs rose as vessels rerouted to avoid Venezuelan waters. Asian stock markets traded mixed while European futures weakened amid energy and geopolitical concerns. U.S. stock indexes closed mixed after economic data showed easing inflation but a strong labor market. Retail sales in the U.S. showed moderate growth heading into the holidays. The dollar strengthened slightly against major currencies and emerging market currencies weakened. Gold prices edged higher as investors sought safe haven assets. Bond yields fluctuated as markets assessed inflation and central bank signals. Airline stocks declined on higher fuel cost expectations while technology shares outperformed broader markets. Financial analysts downgraded growth outlooks for several emerging economies due to energy price pressures. India introduced a nuclear power bill allowing limited private sector participation and debated safeguards for nuclear safety oversight. China criticized new U.S. trade restrictions, warning of supply chain disruptions, while U.S. officials defended the measures as necessary for national security. The European Parliament debated stricter digital regulation proposals. Canada announced new immigration processing reforms. Brazil signaled tax reform adjustments for 2026 planning. Mexico announced expanded border security funding. Japan approved supplemental budget allocations. South Africa introduced anti-corruption legislative amendments. Scientists warned Arctic temperatures in 2025 remained far above historical averages, with sea ice levels near record seasonal lows. India issued dense fog and cold wave warnings across northern states, forecasting travel disruptions and fresh Himalayan snowfall. Severe winter conditions disrupted transport in parts of northern India and emergency shelters were activated for vulnerable populations. Europe experienced early winter storms affecting travel and air quality advisories were issued in several major cities. Drought conditions worsened in East Africa, deepening food insecurity in the Horn of Africa. Wildfire risk remained elevated in parts of Australia and river levels rose in parts of South America. UN climate experts warned of accelerating tipping points and environmental groups urged faster mitigation efforts. The World Health Organization opened its second global summit on traditional medicine in India, promoting evidence-based integration into public health. Junior doctors in England began a 5-day nationwide strike, increasing emergency room wait times and prompting calls to use telehealth alternatives. Canada reported a rise in winter respiratory illnesses and expanded flu vaccination campaigns. Asian countries increased disease surveillance at airports amid seasonal illness concerns. Global health agencies monitored new flu strain mutations and mental health services reported increased seasonal demand. Demand for AI infrastructure surged across Asia's cloud providers as major tech firms expanded data center investments. Dubai telecom operator Du partnered with Huawei on next-generation 5G microwave backhaul deployments. Cybersecurity agencies warned of a new ransomware campaign targeting healthcare and logistics firms and urged immediate patching. Healthcare providers were advised to patch vulnerable systems as logistics firms increased cyber monitoring measures. AI regulation discussions resumed in the European Union while US lawmakers debated limits on AI surveillance use. Startups reported record AI funding rounds in multiple regions. Australian prosecutors charged the Bondi Beach shooting suspect with 59 offences including terrorism, and funerals for victims began nationwide. New South Wales announced emergency parliamentary sessions to consider sweeping gun law reforms following the Bondi Beach attack. Authorities in Colorado closed government offices temporarily due to wildfire prevention power shutoffs. Police in Uttar Pradesh launched a large-scale search for a missing 7-year-old girl using drones and volunteers. Faridabad police reported a daylight robbery in which a salesman was assaulted and cash stolen. Western Uttar Pradesh lawyers protested for a permanent high court bench, disrupting court proceedings. European police agencies increased holiday security and Interpol issued updated travel advisories. Cybercrime arrests were reported in multiple countries as agencies stepped up holiday season enforcement. Japan reported a minor volcanic eruption on a southern island and issued evacuation advisories while confirming no casualties. Indonesia and Pacific nations reviewed disaster response readiness as seismic and volcanic activity was monitored regionally. Earthquake drills were conducted in parts of Asia and maritime authorities issued navigational warnings. U.S. entertainment unions resumed negotiations with major studios over streaming revenue sharing. British royal officials released the royal family's holiday engagement schedule including charity events. European museums and cultural institutions reported record seasonal attendance and tourism bookings surged ahead of Christmas. Film studios delayed some releases amid industry negotiations and music festivals revealed 2026 lineups. Fashion houses released winter collections and cultural festivals resumed across Asia. Nagaland announced results for the Sambad Deer weekly lottery draw. Holiday charity drives and volunteer registrations increased worldwide ahead of year-end religious services and community events. That's all for today, thanks for joining, have a nice day.